Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Period Abundance Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Warren, and I'm joined, as always, by the Pixel Professor, Jacob Price. We're here to talk about video games. It's the Period Abundance Podcast. It's March 5th, 2026. We just turned around our episode on Planet of Lana 2, and we're quickly jumping back on the mic to talk about Resident Evil Requiem. Jake and I picked this up. It's been out how many days now?
Gosh, less than a week.
Less than a week. We try and be quick on the draw with some of these newer big games that we're both going to play, but I was in Hawaii and not playing any video games. Resident Evil is not exactly Hawaii vibes. You know what I mean?
No.
It's
Resident
not,
Evil 10 takes place in Hawaii. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, this game's definitely not Hawaii vibes, but yeah, we wanted to quickly, we've done this in the past, so if you're familiar with the Period of Abundance Podcast, you know that what we try to do with these big AAA releases is do like a first impression sort of quote-unquote part one episode, and then later, once we've actually had time to play it, because we're not professional games journalists who do this full-time, like give an actual full-on episode later on. So whenever we finish this game, which probably actually won't be that long because this game's not that big.
Honestly, I looked up the how long to beat. It's at 10.5 hours for the main story.
That's such a sweet length, man.
Beautiful?
It's a beautiful thing.
You know, a few weeks ago we talked about like why we were hyped for this game, and that was one of our reasons. Is like I think Resident Evil 4 is probably the longest one, and I want to say that it's like. Let's see, I'm going to pull this up on how long to beat super quick. I want to say it's like 12 hours.
Any game, any AAA game that's sub 20 hours is amazing. I think that's a sweet spot. That's like a sweet spot that like they need to do. It would be interesting to do an analysis of like, I don't know, like game lengths. I'd actually be curious, genuinely curious, what the numbers would look like if you took a whole bunch of games that are very, very, very big, that didn't do very well financially, and you said, hey, let's cut 60%. Let's say the game's 60 hours. You cut it down to 15 or even cut it down to 20, right? So you're cutting like 60% of the length. How much would you save, and would that game then become profitable and successful because the development costs like dropped way down just purely based on like content production, right?
Yeah, I think it makes me wonder a few things. Like first, like where is all the money being spent in a lot of these games? Like in development, is it pre-production? Is it production of content? One thing that I think we do know from just like interviews and just other information that's come out is that if you just have a ever increasing scope, like a bloating problem of your scope, that will infinitely drag production, right? Like it'll just keep going and going and going. Probably the most extreme example of this, which is not a great example because there's like really no financial or time barrier to it, would be like Hollow Knight Silksong, right? That's a game that just went from a DLC and then 6.5, 7 years later, like it became this full-blown massive game. I only made it to like the first ending, not the true ending, and I still dumped like 30-something hours into it.
So long, man. Yeah, but I mean that one was interesting because they kind of just had this liberty to just like make as much game as they wanted to make and just do whatever they wanted. Yeah, man, it's a scoping thing. We talk a lot about the games industry and like these challenges, and obviously we're armchair developers, so a lot of assumptions that we make are probably wildly incorrect. I would actually love to get back. What we need to do is maybe pull back from some of our early days of the podcast and maybe bring on like a AAA developer, maybe even to interview and just to ask about some of these like assumptions that we make all the time. That would actually be really interesting.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. We used to do our Game Maker series, but just due to scheduling and Cameron and I's lives getting busy, we kind of put that on hold. But it would be cool to come back. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like I'm thinking about AAA games that I really loved in recent memory. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle
Yep.
is one that I really loved. That one can't be longer than 15 hours, I think, for the
No,
main story, right?
that one's
Uh,
also like a perfect length. Yeah.
yeah, excellent pacing and a great length. There's one of the later areas that I definitely is like my least favorite, but still like overall loved that experience. Um, I want to say Avowed was shorter, and that one was much shorter and sweeter. I liked Indiana Jones more than that one, but like, but yeah, I'm with you. Like, dude, you give me that 20-hour sweet spot game, and I'm in. Yeah, Resident Evil Requiem, to get back to the game that we're going to be talking about. How long to beat has that 10.5 hours. I'm about 2.5 hours into it right now, because I finally was able to come around and start playing it. And dude, I love the pacing of this game. I mean, it's nice to come hot off of like Resident Evil 3, which is a much shorter game. I think it's like 5 hours maybe, but
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I just feel like with the remakes and the Resident Evil games I've been playing, and I'm seeing this already in Requiem, that they just understand pacing and how to get you moving through the game. And yeah, if I've only got 8 hours left in this game, that's awesome. That means it's gonna work out the way I want it
That's the
to.
thing. That's the thing that all these Resident Evil games do. The ones that I played, and we talked about in the last episode, in our like hype episode, that there's so many freaking Resident Evil games.
So many.
So I can't speak like generally of all of them, but these games are just paced. Like pacing is so good. Like no phase like overstays its welcome almost
Yeah.
ever. And I was actually, I think the biggest takeaway from the first couple hours was I was shocked at how quickly you actually jump between Leon and Grace. Is it Grace?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was thinking like, oh, we're gonna play as Grace for like a while, and then it's gonna like do this big long sort of chapter. But no, it like jumps you right in. It's like, oh, you're Leon now, and it's like, and the stories start to intertwine like very, very quickly. That was actually
Yeah.
very surprising to me, and like pleasantly surprising.
Yeah. And honestly, having like recently beat Resident Evil 3, which does something similar, you switch between Jill and Carlos. Um, I really like this. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I really loved Resident Evil 4 remake and Resident Evil 8, where you essentially are just one person the whole way through,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I thought that Resident Evil 9, or I should say, I think that because I haven't finished it yet, this switching between Grace in the first person and then Leon in the third person, um, I don't know. In some ways, already it kind of feels like Resident Evil 9 is kind of this defining like culmination of everything that they've learned in this remake era of Resident Evil, of what works. And like they made first person work in Resident Evil 8. I haven't played 7, which also has first person. And they're also making it work. And I love the explanation that they give at the beginning of the game. They're like, we feel like, to enhance like the horror survival aspect when you're playing as Grace, we recommend first person, and then with Leon to enhance the action moments, we recommend third person.
Did
And you
you
have the
stick to
freedom
that,
to
or
add.
did you switch it to third? Because I was tempted to just make Grace third person. I didn't do it, but I was tempted.
I actually did the exact same thing, man. I saw it and I was like, but if Grace is third person, it'll be Wes Scary.
Yeah. Which for the I don't know if you reached the sequence where you're in the like mental hospital or whatever with Grace. Have you gotten that far
Yeah,
yet?
yeah.
Oh my! I almost noped out. Seriously, I almost noped out. I played that part in first person. I was like, nope, 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 nope. But I made it through. I powered through and was like trying to stop myself from like having like a genuine freak out. But yeah, that's one of those where it's like, okay, yeah, I understand why you're playing this specific moment, like in first person
Yeah.
versus third person.
Yeah, it's funny, and I'm sorry, listeners. I'm gonna make just a lot of comparisons to Resident Evil 3 because that's the one I just played. Um, and it's interesting because Resident Evil 3 remake is like not, even though like Nemesis is like a pretty ugly looking guy, and the game ends pretty in a campy way. Dude, man, over at Capcom, they're messed up. Honestly, they've created some pretty nasty things in Requiem, and I'm like, I mean, dang, this stuff is like way more visceral, I think. Even in the beginning,
It's
right?
very, yeah,
When you have what is it, the like fire poker that you like shove through the zombie police officer's eye?
yeah, yeah. That
I
was,
like
yeah. It's intense. I don't like. You definitely have some crazy moments in. I was thinking of Village, right?
yeah.
But this is like probably starting off at maybe what the highs that I sort of experienced in Village. Now I didn't play Biohazard. I've watched some like playthroughs of Biohazard, and Biohazard I don't think I can handle it. Um, but yeah, I mean this starts off with a bang. I mean they do not mess around. It is extremely violent. There's something about horror, Jake, that's interesting. I've been thinking about this a lot with film over the last couple years. How a lot of
Yeah.
the films that we consider to be the best films are a combination of a lot of different genres in one. But I think something that they
Yeah.
do particularly well, like really great films, especially like blockbusters that are considered to be like really great, they have a lot of horror elements in them because there's something to like feeling the emotion of like genuine fear and like making that happen
Yeah.
like in your film like causes I think an emotional reaction that hits on a deeper level. That's something that happens like in these Resident Evil games. Like you don't want, not everybody necessarily wants to be. Some people like that feeling of adrenaline you get like when you get scared, right?
Yeah.
Like genuinely scared. I don't think I necessarily want that, but I have to admit when I play these Resident Evil games, even though it is like I almost nope out and it's scary, I do like it. Like
Yeah.
I like the feeling. And I like that I like the gameplay and it's not just the scare factor that I'm there for. It's like the combination of the story and the great, AAA action. Like we could talk about Leon like right off the bat. Like the action combat is like fantastic. Just feels incredible like right out the gate.
Yeah. I think I largely agree with that. When you're talking about like movies that utilize horror elements, like the second half of Jurassic Park is
Yeah, great
like
example.
so much on horror, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, to just keep you involved. You know what's interesting is I remember taking a film class
Steven
in
Spielberg's particularly good at this. Like Indiana Jones, it's like an adventure thing, but
yeah.
it's got all this like horror stuff in it that makes it scary.
Yeah, yeah, and I think part of that is like there are a few genres that are really playing on your physical reaction to them, and horror is obviously one of those. And the other two actually, this is interesting because we were talking about this in a film class, right? The professor had us read this article and was saying that horror, comedy, and pornography are three genres that like explicitly try to get a very specific physical reaction to them,
Yeah.
but they're all considered B tier genres. And they were saying this in the sense of like there are a lot of like A tier films that are really highly emotional and psychological, but kind of getting to the point you're getting at, it's like, but introducing like these other elements, like these other genres that much more easily get you to have a physical reaction to what's happening on screen kind of functions as a way to get you just more hooked on what the story actually, or like what's actually happening in the film. So I agree. Like, obviously, Resident Evil is a horror franchise, so they very much lean on this, right? Um, but again, as we've also talked about, and as I've seen a little bit here in Requiem, like if you pace that and you balance that with other moments too, like Leon's like whatever quips,
Yeah.
or like
His quips are hilarious, dude. Like they're corny and you know they're corny and everybody like understands that they're corny, but you're like, yeah, this is great. Yeah, give me the corny, dude. I want it.
I think the delivery is perfect. Like I think the voice actor like really does a phenomenal job of landing those lines. Because they are so corny. Like you could easily botch those or turn this into just like, I don't know, like something with a completely different tone. I mean, it does help that Leon's like an established character in Resident Evil. Um, but I don't know, it's a really good balance because at least as far as I'm at so far with Grace, right? Dude, girl's got a lot of trauma that she is working through. This is a pretty serious, anxious person, and which makes her, segments all the scarier. But it's just nice to have that balance with like this super grizzled,
There's
you know.
yeah, dude, that black and white when you go from Grace, who's like this scared, emotionally traumatized, like somehow an FBI agent that like can't use a gun. No, I guess she can. And then she's like freaking out and dealing with these like horrors. And then you go to Leon and it's like this dude's just ready to throw down. Like like could not care less about what's happening, shooting zombies in the head, just ready to like just making quips. Like what's the one he makes
It's like right when he first enters the hospital, right?
yeah, I was like, I guess something about getting a second opinion.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, I think I need a second opinion.
Yeah. And then right off the bat, what's this, dude? What's this gun? The Requiem? Like right off the first pop, he just pulls out this freaking like mega magnum. Is that like the best feeling gun like in video games that has ever been? I was like, whoa, this is insane.
So yeah, this is the thing that kind of threw me off was in all the Resident Evil games I've played, and just for listeners who don't know, this would be pretty much all of the remakes at this point. I played 2, 3, 4 remakes, and then Resident Evil 8. They always start you out with this handgun that is like freaking difficult to. It's hard to aim down.
It's like a pea shooter too. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a pea shooter. You really got to land your headshots, and these zombies clearly designed to always be swaying their heads.
Yeah.
In predictable patterns, so you're just like over there like wasting your ammo. Yeah, this was awesome because I think it's like Leon is now 51 and he's been through all
He's
of
looking
this.
good for 51, man. Let me tell you, is this the best looking man in video games? Like he may be hottest. We did our list of the most jacked.
Maybe we need to do our most handsome.
We might
our
need to
best
do
looking-
most handsome video game protagonist. I mean, he's got to be up there. Like maybe
for sure.
top 3 at least.
Yeah, dude. But no, what I love that is like the game is just like, dude, this guy's packing heat. He's been doing this for decades.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't he have like this
Zombie
mega
killer.
magnum zombie killer pistol? And so I love how they handle that, right? Where like at the beginning when it's like this first tutorial section where you're doing the action part with Leon, dude, he just got this gun that just absolutely obliterates any zombie. And if you land a headshot, like, dude, exactly, that zombie's gone in this life and the next. Like, so yeah, I like that, and it feels amazing. And then I don't know, for just everybody, we're gonna talk about the first 2 hours. So if you haven't played this game at all, I'm gonna tell you from here on out. Like we'll discuss everything that we've seen. So you've been warned.
Yeah, I mean we've only played the first couple hours, so
yeah, so it hasn't really been all that much. But I thought it was a really cool way to make it so that Leon isn't OP by having him toss Grace the Requiem.
yeah,
So
that was a cool moment. Yep.
it was a cool moment. I'm a little concerned. I'm like, is this passing on? Like, is this a? I'm like, you can't replace Leon, right? But I think mechanically it made a lot of sense to do that.
Dude, that whole I mean, first off, like just so many already great moments, like just right off the bat. Like you have the FBI horror investigation where you're slowly plotting your way through this burned out abandoned hotel doing this like FBI murder which honestly, dude, like could be a game in its own right. Like FBI murder investigator simulator, dude, like they freaking nailed like that whole sequence. It was crazy.
I wonder how much of that was inspired by Alan Wake 2, because Alan Wake 2
Yeah.
has moments like that. But I also get this to me doesn't feel like, oh, they just ripped off Alan Wake 2. I think it's more along the lines of what you're saying, where it's like, okay, let's get this FBI agent to look for clues specifically, right? I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's just like really well done, and looks incredible. Like this game looks amazing. And then you go right to Leon, and the action just feels incredible. I mean, it's just like immediate. Oh yeah, this is highly polished, beautiful looking animations, AAA top to bottom. Just action, like gunplay feels super punchy, heads exploding, chainsaws like slicing through dudes. Like it all just feels like exactly the way that you want it to feel. It feels like that. It's just like so impressive.
Yeah, dude, that chainsaw sequence. One again, I was not expecting you to get like an OP weapon
Yeah,
off
yeah,
the.
yeah.
But I love that moment, right, where it's right after this. I want a second opinion quip, and then he's got a Requiem for me. I think was out of ammo, so he has this other just regular pistol, and then this zombie comes charging at you with a chainsaw. And guess what? The first thing I thought was what exactly the game wanted me to think, which is how do I get that? I
Yeah,
want that.
exactly.
You know.
And then it gives it
That
to you.
and then it gives it to you, right? I thought that was awesome. Now, I actually had to retry that section of like 2 or 3 times because I had to be smart about it. Because, like, guess what? A spinning chainsaw on the ground can hurt you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Or,
yeah, yeah.
but I loved it because it was like, okay, it's gonna give me this super awesome tool, and it's gonna really emphasize the action sequence in this moment. And yeah, I don't know. To me, it's like again balancing like the really scary moments with grace with like, dude, what if we just give Leon and the player a chainsaw like within the first 2 hours of the game, and then he can just go ham in this room for a little bit.
And immediately with Grace, like that whole section where you're running from, I don't even know what to call that thing, but it's freaky. It is extremely freaky. Yeah. You find that little kid's storybook on the ground and you're like, dude,
Oh my gosh.
no, like, nope, nope. Yeah, at first I was thinking like, oh, like they're kind of going to ease you in. It's going to be sort of like light puzzle solving and they'll just like play spooky sounds in the background. Nope, nope. We're right in there. We are right in there running for our absolute lives. And this is the first game I played probably in like years that like my heart rate was like very high.
Well, I mean, with that section with Grace, they give you nothing. And
No.
what really threw me off was like the first item you can pick up is a bottle. I was like, what?
What the F
Like
am I supposed to do with that? Yeah.
I literally tried to like break the bottle and I was like, okay, this is my knife. Like I'm just gonna use a broken, shattered bottle. That's not how it works, really.
Oh.
And then when you get into the hallway, that's like, oh, because it's so common, I feel like in these games to be like one of the recurring mechanics is like, oh, you need to find all the fuses to turn the power back on,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so there was that one moment where we walk into the hall. It's like it's too dark to do anything here. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh shoot, like putting the fuses in actually is really gonna matter. And this is
Yeah.
a room that I have to come back to. Like this feels like they've finally iterated a little bit on that mechanic, where it's like, oh crap, if a place is dark, like I got issues. And then she gets that lighter, right?
And it's
I was
so
like,
unfair because the game knows exactly where you are. And so they drop the scary lady in like exactly where you don't want them to be. You're like, I'm running to safety right now. I
Yeah.
know what's going to happen. And then it happens.
yeah.
And it's like, nope, okay, we're going back the other way. And you're like, there's no way I'm going to make it. Like, I'm dead. This lady's going to freaking eat my face off.
Oh,
And
she ate me. Yeah, that was pretty.
I
I
did.
think.
So I actually made it through without dying, but I did get
Oh,
hit. And it was like the scariest moment in video games ever, where she's like right there, like side swipes me, like blood splatters on the screen. I'm like, wait, am I alive? And I was alive and I was able to run like a little bit. But
Yeah, and to think about that character, because I feel like in a lot of these games you have to get around some like big enemy. Is dude, she takes up like the whole freaking hallway.
oh, yeah, you can't go past her. No.
You can't get past her, right? But yeah, I thought that whole section, like, yeah, I was with you when I first got dropped into that, and I was like, okay, this is gonna be some sort of tutorial, and it is a tutorial, right? But it's also, I feel like, much more serious than that. The way that they planned it out, like with the lights being totally off, by giving you total crap, right? All you have is like you have bottles and a lighter, and then you're just sprinting from lit up area to lit up area, and that freaking terrifying horse statue at the end of the
Oh
hall.
my gosh, dude. I was like, when I get up to close to this horse is going to come alive and like bite my face off. Like, I know it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna get hit in the face with something right now, like rounding this corner. Yeah, so and with her, like I've done this section like afterwards with her, and it felt more like what I have gotten used to with the Resident Evil games that I've played, right? It's like, okay, find the matching key,
Right.
you know, get the gun. But like, I think they don't, at least for me, I didn't find the first gun for Grace for quite a while. So I'm like going through with like makeshift knives and bottles. And Grace isn't like, she's not a fighter.
No.
And so I feel like when you get like the melee action to stun an enemy, all you do is shove them down. Like you don't
Yeah.
actually do any damage to them. So I found myself like using bottles, like hucking bottles at a zombie that would knock them into zombie behind them, and then I could sprint past them. Like I just felt like it was so much more survival than action. Like they made this really this big effort to separate like, okay, with Grace, you have to survive. With Leon, you get to fight to your heart's content.
Yeah, it's just a great like um hot cold,
Yeah.
like yin and yang. It's like balances everything out, right? Like where you never get too, and again, we're only a couple hours in, so maybe this changes and it drags out, but I mean, you never feel like too dragged out in any one, like doing any one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, super smart choice and super interesting choice, like for this game where they kind of went back to some of the style of the older game, basically like taking the remake and taking the stuff from Village and from Biohazard and combining into one game, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm seeing here, which is super interesting, I think, and a super smart choice. And it probably allowed them to go like, hey, we kind of like both these styles. Let's combine them together into one game. And so far, again, just in the first couple hours, like it's working super well. Like I love it. I love the whole setup.
Yeah, and I think what this kind of illustrates is that the team that does Resident Evil and Capcom, they have amassed a lot of institutional knowledge in that team. I think to be able to pull off the first
Yeah.
person and the third person action to just like make this package kind of from bits and pieces of other things that they've done in the past 10 years or so. So that's extremely cool, right? Like to me, I imagine, I don't know this, and again, armchair dev kind of speculating here, but I imagine a lot of the people whose names appear in the credits here have worked on several other Resident Evil titles.
Oh yeah.
And they've got a good handle on what makes a Resident Evil game work. So I think that's super rewarding to see.
And this game's already sold 5 million copies, Jake, already.
Dude, yeah.
So that's actually insane. I mean, that's nuts.
Yeah. A little bit of change of pace. There's one thing thematically, we've been talking about our experience so far. One thing that I'm excited to see develop as I get further into the game is actually this initial thread that they give you, which is there's a string of like these grisly murders, and like they don't know exactly what's going on except that there's black bruising on all these people, and that's across the United States.
Mm-hmm.
But they're all survivors from the Raccoon City incident.
Right.
So this is going back to like basically the beginning of the series, and I think this is by far the most interesting narrative hook that I've seen in any of these games.
I agree.
It's building upon like what Resident Evil has established as a universe and as a world, and it is, I mean, looking down the line, like the consequences and fallout of what happened in Raccoon City. So I feel like it hasn't been really addressed all that much yet. We know that Grace, for whatever reason, is tied up in this because of what's his name, Dr. Gideon, right?
Gideon, yep.
He's kind of obsessed with this, and I saw that cool moment where he's like, "Oh, it's Leon! Like, finally, I get to meet you, Leon."
Yeah.
And so I'm super curious to see like what happens, because I haven't finished that Grace segment to get to see what happens with Leon afterwards. But
Right.
I'm super curious. I'm like, okay, yeah, what are they gonna do with this? Like, why would somebody care so much about the survivors of the Raccoon City incident? And we'll find out.
Yeah, super great narrative hook to start, and also the whole like backstory with Grace and kind of what's going on with her mom, and like where's that going to lead, and like what's her connection to the thing. And yeah, I mean, it's just such a good, I don't know, man. They do some things that I feel like nobody else really does. It's almost sort of like, I want to say it's like old school, but done in a very, very modern way. And they just seem to, I'm like having a hard time um, vocalizing it, but I'll think more about this like before we do our full episode, because they've got this style where they're able to make these remakes that feel brand new, but really keep closely like to the structure of the old games. But it feels like it feels brand new while keeping a lot of the like most of the stuff that was in the original, right? So because you're not playing it and thinking like, oh man, like this kind of feels like stuff an old game used to do. Like you never feel that when you play even the remakes. Like I never felt that even one time, and that's just like a testament to how well they craft those remakes. And this game very much follows suit from that as a new mainline game in the series. Feels a lot like those remakes, but then also has all these new elements with the new stuff they've done with Village and a Biohazard that I mentioned. But excellent.
Yeah, I agree. It's like an old school video game logic that's like the core foundation of how the puzzling and like progression works in this game.
Yep.
But you're right. Like I never feel like I'm playing a game that's retro. So like for example, I just finished playing this game called Ratcheteer DX, which I ended up not liking, unfortunately. And part of it is like it relies pretty heavily on this really obtuse style of giving you hints of what you can do mechanically.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, man, that to me does not hold up. And this, I know this is something specific to me. Like, dude,
you're talking about like old school adventure game point and click mechanics type stuff?
Not quite that obtuse.
Okay.
I don't play this game
like King's Quest style, like really old school. Yeah.
Dude, you want to know what franchise will trigger me more than any other? Actually, it's freaking King's Quest, man.
Really?
I remember like, oddly enough, my older sister, she was like, she never would have called herself a gamer. She's still the best person who ever played Tetris that I ever met, like the greatest Tetris player.
Wow.
And she was super into King's Quest games, and she could like figure him out. And I remember trying to play him, and I was like, this game sucks, actually. I don't. Anyway. No, so Ratcheteer DX is more like a top-down, like Legend of Zelda, like old school Legend of Zelda game.
Yeah.
But when you get like the item or ability from a dungeon, the game like either gives you really obtuse explanations or expects you to figure out how to use those items to their fullest range of ability mechanically.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nah, dude, you please just tell me how to use this tool. It's like this really short game. Like it took me 4 hours, but I probably could have beat it in like 2.5. I kid you not, if they had just freaking told me how to use some of these items. So that to me is an example of like an old school logic that doesn't hold up.
Yeah.
But like with Resident Evil, I feel like how they do the puzzles and like where they hide the keys and, you know, basically finding all the keys to be able to unlock all the doors. And you do this like labyrinth, you know, this elaborate labyrinth to kind of find all the items to make progress forward. That to me feels like really old school logic, but it's not like it's got a fresh coat of paint on it or something, something more than that makes it so much more like engaging still.
100%, Jake. Well, Resident Evil Requiem, Jake and I still have several hours to go, and then we will bring our full episode on the game as soon as we finish playing it, because I think we're both well on the path to finish this one, especially because it's such a great length. Jake, any final first impressions on Resident Evil Requiem?
It's really good. I think if you're a Resident Evil fan, you are living large right now. If you're like Cameron and I, and you're pretty new to this series, relatively speaking.
Yep.
And we're at a really good time to enjoy these games.
100% agree. Well, those have been our thoughts, ladies and gentlemen, on Resident Evil Requiem first impressions. Once again, look for the full episode, full analysis and breakdown in our traditional categories: narrative, game design, impact on the industry, which we will give later this month, hopefully, maybe next month, probably later this month. But we got to go to PAX first, Jake. PAX East,
Yeah,
March 26th.
Yeah, you can expect an episode on us kind of recapping our experience there at PAX East.
Yeah, so look out for that too, because we'll have Resident Evil Requiem, we'll have PAX, and I've got some games in the oven, Jake. A little game might toss your way, Esoteric Ebb.
Esoteric Ebb.
Yeah, so look for that. Maybe I can convince Jake to play this one. Anyway, I need to give this one a shot. Basically, I picked it up on a whim. This is a combination of BG3 and Disco Elysium.
I mean, on paper, that's an easy sell,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, so anyway, we'll give that one a shot. Lots of other games this month as well. And let's not forget to mention the one that we always mention that I just have to bring up continually. Crimson Desert continues to be, Jake, this might be Breath of the Wild. That's the previews that's what people are saying.
When's it come out? Like next week or something ridiculous?
The embargo lifts March 18th, so I doubt we'll have time to play it before PAX, but maybe there'll be a booth at PAX for Crimson Desert.
There was last year, actually.
Oh. Well, anyways, lots of video games to come. This is a huge month for games. We will continue to cover it as best as we can. If you like the show, please leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice. Helps people find the show. Leave us a like and subscribe if you're watching this on the YouTube channel. If you want to watch this on YouTube and you listen to it on podcast, you can do that now. We're posting all of our regular episodes now consistently to YouTube. That's gosh, I don't even know how to give a YouTube link. I'm going to have to figure that out. Just go type in Period Bonus Podcast. We should show up. Click that one. If you want to support us directly, you can do that. Patreon.com/PeriodCast. You can sign up for the deluxe edition of the podcast, which gets you extended editions of our regular episodes plus special topics episodes that are only accessible to Patreon subscribers. That is $5 a month, one price. You can go get that. You can also sign up for Jake's Indie Impressions, where he's talking all about indie games. And you can watch Jake further. You can support him, Jake, on Twitch, twitch.tv/ChipDip18, where he's streaming 2-3 times a week. Variety streamer, lots of indie games and cool stuff. And recently finished Bloodborne again, right? Is that correct?
There's literally one trophy between me and Platinum there.
Wow,
and
platinuming Bloodborne. Jeez.
It's to finish the Chalice dungeons, which I never thought I'd say this. I know this is the very end of the episode, but I don't know if I have the willpower to do them. They have turned into such a slog. The
greatest slog. Well, tune in to watch Jake feel physical pain while playing Bloodborne. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for listening once again, and have a great night.